You do realize that it's not up to you to fix yourself, right? Like, that's the Holy Spirit's job. It's not up to you to remove yourself of sin before you can be in the presence of Jesus. And to prove it to you, I want to read you this story. You've heard it a million times, but just stick around while I read this and then we're going to discuss it. So this is Luke 19, verses 1 through 8. Jesus entered Jericho and was passing through. A man was there by the name of Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and was wealthy. He wanted to see who Jesus was, but because he was short, he could not see over the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed a sycamore fig tree to see him, since Jesus was coming that way. When Jesus reached the spot, he looked up to him and said, "Zacchaeus, come down immediately. I must stay at your house today." So he came down at once and welcomed him gladly. All the people saw this and began to mutter, "He has gone to be the guest of a sinner." But Zacchaeus stood up and said to the Lord, "Look, Lord, here and now I give half of my possessions to the poor, and if I have cheated anybody out of anything, I will pay back 4 times the amount." See, Zacchaeus is what you might call a garbage human being. He was not only a tax collector, but he was a chief tax collector. And back in those times, tax collectors were known cheats. They told people that they owed more money than they did, and they pocketed the difference. That was just what they did. They were greedy, they were selfish, they did people wrong, they lied, and they didn't care about it, as long as it made them wealthy. But I want you to catch something real quick. Zacchaeus didn't have to clean up his life before Jesus came to him. All Zacchaeus did was make an effort to see Jesus, even if it was from a distance. And Jesus was the one who met him where he was. But the story doesn't end there, because once Zacchaeus comes down, his heart changes when he gets in the presence of the Lord. See, Zacchaeus didn't change himself, and he didn't seem to do these things out of guilt, because if he had felt guilty, then he probably would have just repaid back the money he stole. But instead, he willingly gave up half of his possessions to the poor and promised to pay back 4 times the amount. That's the spirit of generosity. That kind of change only happens when you're in the presence of God. And so if you're trying to clean up your act on your own, if you're trying to fix yourself without God's help, it's not going to work. The only thing that's going to fix it is His presence. And then when you're in His presence, it is so effortless to change all of the things that you have been struggling with. He just does it on His own. He doesn't need your help. So I really want to encourage you today to just forget about all of the rules of religion that say that you need to live a perfect, sinless life. That's not possible. And you shouldn't feel guilt, shame, or condemnation for messing up every now and then, because what you need is to be in your Father's presence, not to follow a list of rules. And if you just truly do not know how to pursue Him and how to get in relationship with Him, I would highly encourage you to order my new book, 7 Days to a Life of Limitless. Let me read you this little part real quick. You see, I used to think that following Jesus meant following rules, and for a rule follower like me, I was fine with that. I felt like the rules kept me safe, when in reality, Jesus was showing me that the rules kept me stuck. They kept me from exploring all that He had for me. And listen, I'm not just trying to sell you a book here. I am sharing this with you because I wrote this book in order to help people get closer to God. So if that's something that you're struggling with, I would highly encourage you to check it out on Amazon. You can find the links in my profile. And I also wrote a journal to go with it that has 120 questions you can ask God to help grow your relationship with Him and learn how to hear His voice. You can find that in my profile too.